Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
I we've been going back and forth between Riverside and StreamYard, and I gotta say, so far StreamYard's got the better live streaming experience, but Riverside by far kicks the crap out of StreamYard when it comes to recording podcasts and getting short form content.
Yep.
What's my official review of the two products in case you guys want to anybody out there shopping around for live streaming or podcast software?
Yep.
But here we are. It is December, folks.
Yep.
Not much we can do about it now other than just, did you have a good plan for this year? And are you ready for next year?
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought was funny was when I made this event about 15 minutes ago, we copy and paste from our events calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently, I have forgotten to update the year on this for 2 years in a row. So it still says 2023 planning.
Okay. But it
So,
still
you know,
works.
even the greats like Adam Walter make mistakes. So, but you get what I mean. What we have here is the do's and don'ts of the holiday season, how to de-stress. You got to reset at least once a year, and then road mapping. The 2023 road mapping actually means 2025 road mapping.
There we go.
What are we doing, and how do you road map out for an entire year, all your events?
Mm-hmm.
And Skip and I have been doing this for a while, right? That's why I've been copying and pasting. Like, we've got our cadence down. We know week by week what we're going to be doing for the next year. Now, are we micromanaging it? No. We're doing broad strokes so we can adapt. And I think that's where a lot of MSPs stress themselves out, is that they're trying to plan out and micromanage the year and not allow for the broad strokes to take effect.
Absolutely. And I've been working with several of our members here of late around their playbooks for next year, and they're putting the finishing touches on that, or some of them are actually just getting started. And that's all good because it's a great opportunity to, especially here, sometimes, no minute like the last minute, right? That can kind of help provide a little bit of motivation, but it's a great opportunity to just look at 2025 and what are your goals? What are you really trying to accomplish? Do the reflective element, but to plan those out. So definitely want to take that opportunity if you haven't already and work on those. And you mentioned, Adam, about, de-stressing and, kind of just closing out the year. But for a few people like me, it's a weird line between work and, not work, right? And sometimes it's the same thing. And there's a really interesting element to planning that next year. And it can be a very creative. There's not a problem per se that you're trying to solve. You're not troubleshooting something. There's no log files here, right? And so it can be kind of a fun activity. And so maybe if you're even looking something with a small group, a small part of your team, and just trying to, think about things to do for next year, this might be kind of a fun exercise. I mean, your caveat there on your definition of fun, but it can be something that's not so demanding or stressful, and it allows you to kind of relax and breathe and think in more positive terms.
Yep. And so when I say the do's and the don'ts of the holiday season is, you need to allow yourself to be more positive, because if you just hard unplug without preparing, you're going to be stressed and your mind's going to be constantly thinking about, what can I do? What should I be doing better? Where am I going? So when you do unplug, listen to Skip here. Find a way to end on a positive note that's going to take you into the next year. So what we want to do is look at your next year for a quick win. What's one thing you can accomplish each quarter that you can put down on a piece of paper right now in the next 5 minutes? It's a 5-minute exercise, people. Write down or put it on your Outlook calendar. And at the first day of every quarter, you're going to say, I'm going to have this done this quarter.
Yep.
Or put a sticky note on your screen that says, I'm going to work on this quarter. And just make it a simple thing. Maybe in quarter one, you're going to finally win over this one client, one prospect. Maybe in quarter one, you're finally going to implement that software you've been meaning to implement to help your technicians close tickets faster. Just pick 4 things, one per quarter, and put them down. That way, you're going to have a little less stress. When you unplug, you're going to have, I at least have a general plan.
Have an idea.
Which is more than you had last year.
Yes, that's it.
And then the next time you sit down at your desk, take 5 minutes, only 5 minutes, and expand upon those 4 goals you had for next year and make 3 steps for each one. So you're going to win over that prospect in quarter one. That's your goal. Then how are you going to get there in January? Well, I'm going to buy them a fruit basket. Month 2, I am going to show them why they need to work with us because I'm going to solve a specific problem for them. Step 3, it's month 3. You're going to get on premise with them or do a lunch session with them to discuss working together. Have those 3 things. They don't have to be wild ideas, but 3 things that you'll actually accomplish, and do that for all 4 goals. And put that down on your calendar. And as you'll find that the more of these things you put on your calendar, these objectives, the more you're going to feel the less stress you're going to feel. You're going to feel like you have a handle on things. If you feel stressed about money, the easy thing to do is to avoid looking at your bank account. But it's always sitting in the back of your mind.
Always.
If you want to feel relaxed about money, you got to go look at that bank account and devise a plan, even if it's a general one. And that will de-stress you. And so that is what you need to do. And so when you talk about road mapping etiquette, we talk about that top-down approach. Find the one goal for your business next year, then find the 4 goals that will support that one goal, then find the goals that will support those, and just keep going down the level. And that's how you roadmap out to the week. That's how you get a 52-week schedule of activities and a roadmap. That's how that works, people.
And it's also how you empower your team as well. So if you're sitting and you're thinking about, one of those 4 items, and you're thinking, all right, there's a lot to do here, and there may very well be a lot to do there. You probably shouldn't be trying to figure out every little detail. And as you go down and as you begin defining those supporting elements, you're going to identify chunks there that you're able to say, I can pass this off to this team member. They'll do a really good job at that, providing them the same sort of framework. Hey, you don't have to do everything, and drill that down. And that can be a great way to delegate some of these things so that you're not doing all of the work. If you have a team, you really need to leverage the team. If you're all on it by yourself, that is kind of hard, and you need to set, appropriate expectations. But if you have a team, leverage them in all aspects of this. And there's a couple of things that happen there. One, you not having to do all the work, the de-stressing that comes with that. But 2 is you're going to get probably better results because you've got a different perspective on things, and you've got more buy-in. You've got people that are taking ownership of particular sections rather than you trying to, push a new process onto them. Sometimes they can create their own process much more effectively. So again, leverage that, and it helps you and your team.
Yeah. And you want to be able to leverage that team in a way that puts them on jobs that they like to do. So when you're thinking of that new prospect that you're going to buy a fruit basket for, or gift cards for, or some kind of just teaser, find somebody who likes to put that stuff together. Maybe you have somebody who likes to design out fruit baskets or flower arrangements or bake cookies or whatever it is. Leverage that. Maybe you have somebody that second month in February who likes to reach out and call a client and to say, how are things going? I would love to get you on a calendar for Bob in March so you guys can have lunch together and talk about things. Or maybe you have an engineer who has a great idea for this prospect. Like, hey, they're in the education sector. If we bring them in, I will happily discuss with them how to develop out a Chromebook program that actually works, or they're not constantly fighting them all the time. And so you have these people in there that you can leverage and delegate to that can now work on smaller tasks. So as you're defining your rocks, those are your quarter goals, and you're delegating out tasks or iterations for those rocks, you can find tasks that people like to do. And then you don't have to do all the work yourself, because if you don't come up with a plan, you're going to think of things on a whim, and then you're going to work on them yourself because you don't have time to scope them out and delegate them.
Yes.
You're going to try to do everything yourself when you know for a fact that Skip would be way better at this than you. Or you know for a fact that Adam would happily do this and have it done in half the time. But he's just not around right now to say, hey, can you do this right now? So having that roadmap ahead of time is a godsend for efficiency in your organization. That's why I talk about road mapping etiquette. When you say, in 3 months, I'd like to meet with you and have lunch, or in 60 days, or in 30 days, I would like to have lunch, you're going to have a better chance of getting on that person's schedule than you will if you thought about one, hey, let's have lunch this week. So go through and figure that out. Another etiquette item is doing the same things on the same day. Meet with your clients on the same day of the same week of that month in that quarter. So if you're going to meet with clients, it's going to be the second Tuesday of the first month of every quarter, or the second Tuesday of the second month of every quarter. That way they suddenly fit you into their own roadmaps as a staple. That's what we refer to in our cadence conversations. So this holiday season, I really want you to think about, what does next year look like for you? Do you have any kind of plan? Or maybe you over plan and you've got this line by line item of all the 37,000 steps you're going to do by the end of the year. What happens if one of those steps doesn't go well? How often does your line by line plan actually work out?
It just doesn't.
Broader strokes, people. Broader strokes. Show your team your broad strokes. As I said earlier, one item per quarter. And then sit down with your team and say, hey, how can we win over that client this quarter? Or maybe we have 5 clients this quarter, that first quarter one, that we have been working on for the past year that we just can't seem to move over the hump. How are we going to win them over? And then Skip says, you know what? I'm going to call them. I know Sally over there, and we've got a good reputation. Let's just go ahead and get that going. Cool. Now you have steps, and your team has helped you follow those steps. And again, as Skip said, you have the right people calling rather than just you doing all the work yourself.
And this applies to so many different things. Our personal job list of things we got going on as we hit, this is December 5th. So there's probably quite a few things on your list that you were, wanting to get accomplished this year. Now might be a good chance or a good opportunity to sit down and look at those and be realistic about those and go, that's probably just not going to happen. Right? Rather than waiting until, December 27th to start informing all the associated connections or whatever that, hey, this is not going to happen. Maybe you reset expectations right now. And that might not be, what you wanted to do. But in doing that, in setting those expectations and taking those things off your list, that will also take some stress off of you, help you focus on the things that you can get done. And a dual impact there is, one, there are fewer things on your list that have to be done before, you close out for the year. And two, those things get done better. And your satisfaction level with those increases. And all of that together is definitely going to make a less stressful time and allows you to start more optimistically in January. You're not coming out all beat up with stress from the last month. You have to put a bit of a fresh start on things. And that is kind of important. I mean, January, it's just another month that, it comes after December, but there's a lot of initiatives that we try to kick off. And sometimes it can set the tone for at least several months, if not the whole year long. So there is an important element about starting out well in January.
Yeah, and part of that is just take this holiday season, take advantage of that downtime to ensure that you're kicking off next year well. This is your come to Jesus session. This is your checkpoint for the year.
Mm-hmm.
There's not going to be much different between January and December other than a mindset shift. People start all these great habits in January and then they fail because they didn't have a plan. They just came up with an idea. So the idea is great, the first. Then second, break it up into checkpoints, and then break those checkpoints into further points and keep going down. And in that way, when you kick off your year, when you come back from this vacation, you now have something to look forward to. And that will de-stress you over this period. But again, the point is to use this downtime where it's hard to get a hold of clients, it's hard to look at where are we going, and actually feel out, what does my year look like? What's stressing me out this year? What kept me from moving forward? And get around that starting January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need to be a dramatic change. And I suggest it not be a dramatic change. I suggest it be something that you can achieve. So you get a quick win in January, and then in February and March, you can expand upon that win. That way, this time next year, you're going, oh my gosh, that was great. I've got so many more ideas. Okay. Break them down again. So that next holiday month, you start becoming used to the fact that December is a planning month for you.
Yeah.
It's a time to enjoy your family or avoid your family, depending on who you are. And build out a roadmap that your clients enjoy, that your team enjoys, and that allows you to have a little less stress for next year.
Yeah. Well, and kind of tying it back to what I was talking about earlier in your strategic planning, your playbooks, those are the things that I've been talking about with members here of late. And in every one of those conversations, I always, encourage them to not overdo it. Sometimes we start out, and sometimes it is just kind of the stereotypical 4 basic QBR type meetings, right? Okay, that's great. Let's get those on there. Let's set expectations. Maybe let's start creating some calendar events. And then along the way, you can start filling in some of those gaps. Especially for your larger clients, if your cadence is, I'm going to meet with them 4 times a year, you're missing the mark, and you need some additional things. But you don't have to figure all of those out right now. Start with the basics and then start coloring in as you get a little bit closer. Hey, we can do this one during Q1, and you test some of those out as well. You might not know how those are going to go, and so you may want to adjust those. The ones that work really great, you carry those into Q2, and you add something else as you go along, and you can end up at the end of Q4 next year with this really great, well thought out, well structured, event rich set of engagements that you're doing with a client. But if you try to do that in December for the next year, then you're just going to mess it up. It's going to be too many details, and you're starting too big. So take it easy on those. Don't put too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah. Adapt. Don't be rigid. Don't be rich. Don't be say, I have to do it this way or it's not going to work. So I want everybody else. Every week I do this. I see a lot of you watching this. I want you to put your own best practices on how to de-stress over the holiday down below in the comments. Share what you know with your fellow MSPs out there. What do you do every December to kind of seal up the year and kick off the new year with a great start? I really want to know. I'd like to hear. I get to see the analytics online. I see you guys all watching, but no one's commenting. Come on, guys.
Come on.
Come on. So, we were over 2.5 million views last year. And our comments are the one place where I'm not doing a great job. Maybe I just don't allow people time to talk, Skip. I think that's one of my big flaws here. We're in lecture mode so often.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to get along here. I want everybody to share their knowledge. Use this place to talk about leadership principles. Use this place to talk about best practices. Let's get this going. We're actually trying to start a Discord channel where we actually talk about not just technical stuff, which is what everybody seems to gravitate to, but also talk about leadership. Let's talk about how you are planning, how you are succeeding in your MSP.
Mm-hmm.
So that we don't just have people lurking, but we have people growing and actively participating in how to make each other better.
Yeah.
This has been a great year. Next year or next week, I believe we have the value of laziness, like one of my favorite sessions.
Oh yeah.
And so talking about cadence, talking about proposals and profitability, and also some client gift ideas. Like what can you give your client to help them feel special?
Yes.
All right, everyone. This has been a great week. We're closing out the year. And so I'm expecting to see a lot of you start to relax. Hopefully, if you planned your year well, and you can spend a little bit more time commenting on these threads.
There you go.
All right, guys. Talk to you next week.
See ya.